Welcome back to another edition of the Film Custodian Show. I am the Film Custodian, and I am back in the garage after a wonderful day in the theater. Being a janitor, of course, cleaning up at the theater, cleaning up the popcorn and all manner of crap that's on the ground. But we're here today, and we're here to talk about something that's not crap for once. Yeah, buckle your seatbelts and get ready, because here we go. Alright, so episode 5 and episode 6. Real quick, so episode 5 I thought was really good, and it was about a wedding. And as we all know, a wedding in Westeros involves what? Murder, blood and guts, deception, plots, people looking at each other from across the room. I don't like that guy too much. I don't like that guy too much. I mean, the camera work is just amazing in this episode. The entire episode pretty much takes place in the throne room where they've set up massive tables because it's sort of the pre-wedding where they're having the feast for the wedding. But then after all the murder and stuff, they just kind of have the wedding right there, right after that. Like there's still a pool of blood in sort of in the background, and everyone's all pissed off and upset. But I mean, I don't know if there was going to be another wedding after this, or if this was the wedding. Whatever, details, who cares? Point is, the camera work in this episode is amazing because it's sort of, the camera's kind of moving along past characters. You get shots of people's faces. They're kind of looking off at other people, and it's like, I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy too well. You really have the king, who's just kind of like, look, something is going right for once. All right, here we go. Oh, I've lost another digit. Oh, another one of my fingers is gone. Damon Targaryen shows up, just kind of puts his feet up on the couch, kind of on the table, and is like, wedding. All right. How can I be an asshole today? All right. Earlier, I believe in this same episode, perhaps it was the last episode, I'm not entirely sure. I believe it was this episode. Damon Targaryen kills his wife. She's out riding a horse, and then he's just kind of, he's got his hood on and stuff, and she kind of says some things, and he's kind of like, oh, what? Whoa, look out! And the horse falls over, smashes on top of her. She's dead. And then someone questions him about it at the wedding. He's just basically like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm talking about, mate. I don't know. I mean, I'm Damon Targaryen. I'm complex, I'm cool, And then wedding shit goes down. Everyone kind of does some fancy dancing. The Rhaenyra, who's the princess, played by Amelia Atlock. She has really grown on a lot of people. I think that, and on me too. She's a fantastic actress, and she's really shown through. And also the Hightower woman as well. I can't remember the actress's name, but she shows up wearing a green dress, and I guess that's the colors of the Hightowers. And everyone's just like, hey, what color do the do the Hightowers what colors do they use to signal for their bannermen when they go into war? And the guy's like, green. And she comes down wearing a green dress. I mean, just stuff like that. Now, of course, I think I'm getting all the details of that particular instance wrong, but whatever. The whole point is she's wearing a green dress, kind of like we're going to war, kind of, in a sense. Not really, because, of course, in the next episode, from 5 to 6, is the 10-year jump. So let's just jump right into that, so to speak. And why this is significant. So I don't know how many other shows have done this before, but they've actually changed actors mid-season, right? So you start off with, Amelia Atlock playing Rhaenyra. She's now been replaced by another actress. And same thing with the Hightower woman. She's been replaced by a woman. But everybody else is still the same. Sir Criston still is the same actor. He doesn't really look like he's been aged all that much. The king, however, of course, he continues to lose digits. Actually, he lost his whole arm now. His whole arm is now gone. He's just diseased with something. I thought he was maybe turning into a stone man, but no, I don't think so. I think this is something else. You don't really need to explain it, but hopefully they do. Maybe it's some kind of dragon sickness, Maybe they took that from like Middle Earth or something. I don't know. But also, he just gets poked a lot when he's sitting on that very uncomfortable Game of Thrones chair. The Iron Throne, which is thousands of blades from all of the nations that the Targaryens have conquered, and he keeps, I keep getting poked, and maybe it's just an infection, and they don't know how to deal with it because this is medieval times, right? This is, supposed to be authentic to medieval times, and it just makes it that much better. Everything isn't, whole fantasy. It's just sort of set in a place that could exist. It could. There's just dragons and weird diseases. Because now his arm is completely gone, and his hair is gone. He just continues to deteriorate. And I think he does a really good job. I've heard some criticisms of the actor that plays him, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? Everybody's great. And, and then there's a lot of people upset about this time jump because, and I can understand why to a certain point, right? You've invested in the show, you've invested in 5 episodes, you've invested in the characters, and so you've invested in the actors as well, right? We've been watching Amelia Atlock play Rhaenyra, and now suddenly she's been replaced by a different actress, Emily Decry or something like that. Whatever, anyway, but she's really good. That's the thing. She's also really good. So I can understand if you've invested all this time into these actresses, into these characters, and then suddenly there's the time jump, going to the halfway through the season to episode 6, and now it's completely new actresses. You kind of be like, why'd they do this? Why'd they do this? Now, in one of my past reviews, I said I think they're going to do a time jump. Because I've seen actresses that, it was like, but aren't, they were even in the trailers. Aren't they playing the characters? And then you see the younger versions, aren't they going to play the characters? So, I mean, they did forecast it. It shouldn't really come as a surprise to most people. And I don't have a problem with it. But again, I can kind of understand if you do have a problem with it. But I don't think you should get that upset about it. It just, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, I mean, to each his own. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm just some guy on the internet, right? So, I think this was my favorite episode so far, actually, because now we're seeing the children. We're seeing the boy from the king and from her. We're seeing them. This sort of the next generation. Now it's becoming a multi-generational story. And we all know this is going to eventually lead into the Dance of Dragons, into the Targaryen Civil War. And everything's basically going to go to shit, like it usually does in Game of Thrones type situations. Yeah, I mean, they could have just left the actresses that they have and maybe aged them a little bit, But I think the reason they didn't do that is because the actresses that have taken over for the younger actresses are going to be the ones that are taking the story forward into however many seasons this show gets. It's already been confirmed. It's been renewed for a second season, so we're at least going to get 2 seasons of House of the Dragon, and they're going to be the ones going forward. So I get it. I understand the time jump. You could have put on the brakes and just had the whole first season be these younger actresses, and then in the second season go with the older people. But I kind of like this better. You're moving the story along. You're getting everything going where it needs to go. And the show is a slow burn as it is. A lot of people aren't really into that anyway. They just want explosions and superheroes flying around every 5 seconds. We need explosions. Open with an explosion. Then there's someone gets killed in that episode. And it's like, it's kind of a miracle, actually, that this even exists. And it's a good thing that it exists, right? I love it. Why? Because you're investing in character. You're investing in story. It's moving along, so you're always going to get a better payoff, right? When you slow burn like this, you get the better payoff. Now, of course, there's the opposite of good slow burn. There's bad slow burn, which is just something like Rings of Power. That's not slow burn at all. That's just completely lack of story until the last 5 or 10 minutes of every episode, where they're like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a bunch of story stuff just dumped on top of you. So that you come back next week to answer the question, which will lead to nothing, because they don't answer anything. It's terrible. It's a terrible show. But House of the Dragon has been really good pacing-wise, and I thought this was a really good episode. You have basically the 2 young women at the center of this. The Hightower woman, she basically is, you're going to marry the king, and she's having to be the queen, right? And she gets to marry the king, for God's sake. So it's like, I don't understand why you're unhappy with this. You get to marry the king, get to have the king's prodigy. You are now part of history of Westeros. Your kids are, going off, and they're going to be kings and queens and whatnot. But she's kind of unhappy with this, right? Because then she looks at Rhaenyra, and she's going off and she's running off, being promiscuous, having sex, going on adventures, and doing all these different types of things. It's exciting. It's not boring, right? Whereas she's now the queen, the Hightower woman. She's now the queen, and it's basically just boring, right? Because she's got to take care of the king, who's just kind of deteriorating, has boring sex, and has to take care of her kids and whatnot. But I mean, so fine. She would rather be Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra is kind of doesn't really know what she wants to be. It's because she has kind of the Disney princess dilemma. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But whatever, she ends up having kids eventually anyway with the king or the leader of the Gold Cloaks. Everyone's kind of like, your children look nothing like your husband. Nothing at all like him, in fact. And I'm not just talking about the brown hair. So anyway, she's not really well respected. Rhaenyra is not really well respected and is constantly, like the king is just trying to do right. The reason that the king constantly gets mowed over is because he's the peacetime king, and he's not good at keeping authority, right? So everyone just kind of runs over him. He's the nice guy. Everyone just runs right over him, right? Meanwhile, you have Damon Targaryen, who does look exactly the same 10 years later. That's fine. Like, who cares? It doesn't really matter all that much. I don't think it's a big deal. But he has found allies with the Valerian family. I can't remember exactly I believe that's their name, whatnot. He actually married one of the daughters. And they found common ground because it was like, we have to make ourselves into something. And it's like, oh, yeah, like every guy does. It wasn't just handed to us. You have to make something of ourselves, right? Yeah. But anyway, so he goes off, and he does. He's basically a one-man army fighting against the crabs. He's trying to, the crab feeder. He's trying to gain his family's approval, but more importantly, his brother's approval. And also maybe just prove to himself that he's worth something, because he just spends a lot of time brooding and self-loathing. He's basically impotent, which brings up an interesting question. 10 years later, he's got 3 kids running around. So did he fix that, or is he now a cuck? I don't know. But I think that also kind of holds him back too. He gets depressed about that, obviously, right? He's drinking, he's whoring, but he can't really whore because he's not really, he's not able to perform. So, I don't know. So he's got a lot to prove, basically. So his journey, to me anyway, it's interesting because he's constantly trying to find his place in the world, so to speak. Let's see, what else happened this episode? Now Rhaenyra and her family have moved to Dragonstone, so the pieces are being all lined up. And even like the director of this episode said, Mikhail Sapochnik, who unfortunately left this show, now that the first season is over, he's going to go off and do other things. Before all of this, he was interested in making a Conan the Barbarian movie. And actually the writer, the other co-creator of this show, Ryan Condal, was also in the process of making a Conan the Barbarian show for Amazon, I believe. It was either Amazon or Netflix. I think Amazon. But ultimately, Amazon chose The Rings of Power, which, we all know how well that worked out. Oh. So, I don't know, maybe Sapochnik is going to go off and he's going to start a Conan the Barbarian show somewhere else. That could be pretty cool. Oh, yeah, that's, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. It could be cool. I'll come back to be Conan the Barbarian. But no, I recently saw that movie. It's actually pretty good. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cheese, a lot of corniness in there, but I mean, it's just a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. And actually, Schwarzenegger's very good in the role. What can I say? Well, so anyway, maybe Sapochnik is going to go off and help Kit Harington with his Jon Snow sequel to Game of Thrones. That could be cool too. Why not? Get him in there. It already looks like Kit Harington, it was his idea to create the show about Jon Snow anyway. Maybe it'll be a limited series. I hope not. You could get a couple seasons out of that. Why not? I'm not really sure what they would do, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. What Jon's next journey could be. And again, you could do things that, if you left Game of Thrones with kind of a bitter taste, sour taste, the last couple episodes weren't that good of Game of Thrones in season 8. And I agree, it was kind of disappointing, so maybe you could somehow correct some of those mistakes, I guess. You could somehow, like, maybe that was the Night King, but there's something else, too, that, Jon has to actually, you could go to the lands of always winter, where the Night King and all them came from, and maybe there's some score that he could settle. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm excited about all that. So House of the Dragon, in conclusion, really good show. I'm really enjoying it. I'm invested in all the characters. I don't really mind the time jump. I think it's perfectly fine. Everyone does great. This was my favorite episode so far. It just gets better and better in my opinion. Now there's all the children involved too, so it's multi-generational. So a lot of intrigue going on. A lot of things could happen, and I'm excited. I'm excited, and I actually want to see more, as opposed to Rings of Power, where it's just like, God, what a slogfest. All right. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my rantings, if you enjoy my videos. Please share the video. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think of the episode. Did you hate the episode? Did you love the episode? Do you like this show better than Rings of Power? If you don't like this show, tell me why. All right. See you in the next video.